Hi, my name is Melissa Carroll. I would like to talk about the simple past tense. I will talk about its form, its meaning, and its use, and I will also talk about question making in the past tense. I hope that you enjoyed this grammar PowerPoint presentation.
What do you already know about the past tense? It's in the past. It's finished. There are two forms, regular verbs and irregular verbs. The verb to be has subject-verb agreement just like the present tense does. So I was famous, but you were famous, or he, she, it was famous. We, you were famous, they were famous. Just like the verb to be in the negative also has subject-verb agreement. I wasn't famous. You weren't famous. He, she, it wasn't famous. We, you weren't famous. They weren't famous. You can also say I was not famous or you were not famous, but it's more common for a native English speaker to use the contraction I wasn't famous and you weren't famous. Positive sentences. I slept in today. I lived in France last year. I studied English in Canada. We had a party last night. The negative sentences. I didn't sleep in today. I didn't live in France last year. I didn't study English in Canada. We didn't have a party last night. You'll notice that there is a helping verb, didn't, and that it takes the time and the subject-verb agreement. In this case, it's the past tense. So the simple past is completed actions, they're finished. It's habits in the past and or facts in the past. For example, I went to the movies with my friend yesterday. This is a completed action. I always spent the summers with my grandparents when I was a child. This is past habit and could also be a past fact. The simple past is over. It is finished. It's an action that started and finished in the past. It has nothing to do with the present. Actions that took place at a specific time in the past. With the simple past, we often use when. We like to say when. For example, how we say when is with a time adverb. You would state when it happened by using a time adverb, such as I graduated from university last year. Last year is the time adverb. Common time expressions: yesterday, last month, last year, ago, in 2015. Examples could be, I saw Mike yesterday with his new girlfriend. Last Friday, we went to Vancouver for the weekend. I traveled Europe in 2016. With time adverbs like last, ago, and yesterday, there are many different ways you can use them. For example, last could be last night, last week, last Tuesday, last weekend, or last month. There are others. You'll notice that last Tuesday, Tuesday has a capital because it's the name of the day of a week, so it's a capital. But with ago, it's the same. We have many different ways that you can use ago with a simple past, in that many different ways to express the time: 5 minutes ago, 10 days ago, an hour ago, a month ago, a year ago, etc. And yesterday, you could simply say yesterday, or yesterday morning if you want it to be more specific. Yesterday afternoon, yesterday evening, the day before yesterday, for example. We use the past to describe events over a period of time in the past. For example, I lived in England for 5 years. That just represents a 5-year period of time in the past that I lived in England. There is no connection to the present, and you don't need to know specifically when. We use the simple past to describe past habits or repeated actions in the past. For example, when I was a child, I always went to the beach in summer. Always, often, sometimes, never. These words are adverbs of frequency and they are used with repeated actions, whether it's in the past or in the present. But in this case, you can use them with the simple past to describe repeated actions in the past. We use the simple past for multiple times. I had 2 cups of coffee this morning. I read Harry Potter 3 times. I went to the pub twice this week. We use the simple past for actions that show up one after the other. For example, I came home, took off my jacket, and started to cook. Or I grabbed my wallet, put on my jacket, and left. The verb that shows up first in the sentence is the action that took place first in the past, and then the next action, and then the next action. For example, I came home first, and then I took off my jacket and started to cook. It is not possible for me to start to cook before I even get home. So as a verb tense, it's a very useful, very clear verb tense. You know what happens when it happens in the sentence. Your turn. I want to give you a writing exercise. This is an opportunity to process what you've learned. I want you to write as many sentences as you can in 5 minutes about your day yesterday. So in 5 minutes, write as many sentences in the past as you can think of from the moment you woke up to the moment you went to bed. Here are some examples. I woke up late yesterday at 6:35 a.m. I got up, I got dressed, and then I brushed my teeth. After that, I had breakfast, etc. So go through your day until you go to bed. Now I want you to share your day with the members at your table or with a partner. Don't forget to ask questions. So when you share your day of what you did yesterday, think of things that you can ask. Why did you get up at 6:35 yesterday? Why were you late? Why didn't you get up on time? Or how did you get to school? So practice. These are follow-up questions, and I want you to practice them when you talk about your past tense sentences from yesterday. Asking questions. When you have the verb be, the verb to be plus the subject. It's inverted. So you just simply switch them from you were to were you. So these are yes/no questions with the verb to be. Were you with Mary yesterday? Yes, I was. No, I wasn't. Yes/no questions with the verb to be. Was he married before? Yes, he was. No, he wasn't. You'll notice that you must have subject-verb agreement. If the subject is a he, it has to be third person in the past. Discussion questions with the verb to be. We use the 5 W's and how, who, what, where, when, why, and how, to ask discussion questions. These are more open-ended type questions. The questions we looked at previously were yes/no type questions. So who was at the party last night? Where were you yesterday? Who was, this is subject-verb agreement, and you'll notice that it's in the third person. But what you may not know is that who is the subject. You see, there's no other subject. It's not who was you at the party last night. It's who was at the party last night. So who is acting like a subject, and in this case, it's the third person, so it has to be third person agreement. Who was at the party last night? The next one, where were you yesterday? There is a subject, you, and so the verb agrees with you. Where were you yesterday? Not where was you yesterday? For yes/no questions, you can ask with the verb did, that's the helping verb, did, subject, and the base verb. Did you go to school yesterday? Yes, I did. No, I didn't. For discussion questions, with the helping verb did, we also use the 5 W's and how, who, what, where, when, why, and how. So you can say, what did you do last weekend? Although we would say, what'd you do last weekend? And where did you go, or where'd you go? Where'd you go? There's a pronunciation about this. Did you hear it? We never say, as native English speakers, what did you do last weekend? There's linking. We link the words together. So it sounds like, what'd you do last weekend? What'd you do last weekend? What'd you do last weekend? Where'd you go last weekend? Where'd you go last weekend? Where'd you go last weekend? Who'd you go with? Who'd you go with? Who'd you go with? Discussion time. Take turns asking and answering these questions. How was your weekend? Did you go anywhere? Did you do anything? What was your first impression of Victoria? Tell me about your first day in class. Pop quiz. Maria braked her cookie in half and shared it with the young man stuck in the elevator with her. They told stories to pass the time as mechanics worked on the elevator. Which one is the mistake? That's right. Braked is not a regular verb. It's an irregular verb. Broke. Pop quiz number 2. John brought Nancy flowers and begged for forgiveness, but when Nancy saw that her ex still hadn't shaved his ridiculous mustache, she shut the door in his face. Where's the mistake? A, B, C, or D? That's right, B, begged. It's a regular verb and you must double the consonant because it's consonant, vowel, consonant. You double the last consonant and add ed. Begged. Don't forget to review. The end.